Welcome back to the Sanctuary, Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail, and the magical DPS questline. Cruisnik X with Arya Stormborn.
Hello.
Last episode, the Justiciar has been claiming that he can save Radzatan, and he's been very impressionable on the young ones. One such young one actually went to follow in his doomed crusade and ended up doomed herself. We saved her, of course, but the Justiciar is still out there and running amok. So
Amok.
yeah, pretty much. Anywhoozy, before we continue this quest line, we have to do what we always do, and that is spin the Wheel of Mages. We've got 2 out of the 4 magical DPS, and we got 2 left of the 4, so let's spin and see what we're choosing today. Our newest member of the magical DPS, the Pictomancer. All right, I've already glammed Pictomancer. No, wait, yes, no, yeah, I did. I already glammed Pictomancer. So let me remove the glamour right quick so that you can see the gear in its entirety, even though I feel like I look like a poof with this thing on.
But a very cute poof.
But, yeah. Honestly, I enjoyed leveling Pictomancer a little bit. I'm still kind of learning the ins and outs, but it doesn't consume as many slots in my W cross that I thought it was going to. Which honestly is fine by me. Hey, this job does pack a punch, and having Lord Fyrax be a Pictomancer is fun in and of itself, but at the same time, you know. But anyway, back to my glam for it, because I like my glam a little bit better. So we're gonna link that to glamour plate number 19, and 1, 2, done. And now I got a nice smock, a nice flannel smock. Anywhoozy, let's get right down to it with our next quest in the journey, the level 94 quest, the Seeds of Popularity. Chris, I hope you've been well. Since last we spoke, the Justiciar has been busy felling fiends all across Thavnair, leaving a trail of witnesses behind in his wake. More than a few have reported seeing stones falling from the sky, which all but confirms our theory that the treasure is causing the phenomenon. The stories share one more peculiar commonality. It seems the pests he hunts have all been of the seedkin variety. Why he avoids beasts of flesh and blood is yet a mystery. It bears mentioning that each of these eyewitness accounts came from people who were rescued by the Justiciar, who invariably appears just as these creatures attack. In fact, the Justiciar has been there to save the day in every single instance of seedkin-related mischief. Awfully suspicious if you ask me, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Some among the Radiant host have suggested that the Justiciar is planning these assaults somehow, so he alone can reap glory from thwarting them. I agree, and I think this should be our next avenue of investigation. Many of these incidents occurred near the Giant Skull grounds, so we should start our search there. If we can find one of those monstrous plants before it finds hapless prey, we may be able to shed light upon the Justiciar's methods. Time is of the essence, so let's leave at once. All right, let's fly. What you looking at, Arya?
I just finished the quest thingy.
Oh, you're running. She's running on an alt.
Yes, I'm on Aria Valentine.
Hmm.
I need to go start on another server to get my rightful name.
Hmm. All right, there's Tepeke. Any moving bushes? Slithering vines? Not here in any case. Chris, I'll search the western path. Why don't you search east? If you see something, don't strike to kill. Weaken it, then capture it with this rope. We'll learn much more from a live specimen. Western path. All right. Let's go to ground. There it is. All right, I better get my motifs painted before we start this.
Yes.
And rope. Yeah, that's what I thought. Back to the ground and pound. Tepeke? I see plenty of fauna roaming about, but the flora all seems to be of the rooted to the ground variety.
I'll be right back.
Take your time. Perhaps my hunch was incorrect. You found one! In fact, this is exactly as an eyewitness described. Why don't you keep it for the time being? Bring it to the Great Work, and I'll ask my acquaintance there to examine it with all haste. All right, to the Great Work. There's the alchemist. Mr. Tepeke told me what to expect. Well then, let's see the thing. Oh, I didn't expect it to be so diminutive. If Mrs. Tepeke is intuition is correct, then I expect some interesting discoveries are in store. You've brought me quite the fascinating specimen indeed. I can't say for certain that this creature's growth isn't natural in the slightest. Biologically, it is still but a sapling, as you can tell by its size. Yet, it is the result of a specific alchemical mixture which is used to spur the growth of seeds and mycelium to an unnatural degree. The agents have a side effect of making the creatures more aggressive, which explains why such a small specimen would so boldly attack beings larger than itself. Yet the solution requires ingredients most rare, and the cost of procuring enough to synthesize it would be beyond the means of most. So whoever is behind this, they are likely well heeled. As for the creatures themselves, if they were all grown artificially, perhaps that explains why most of the incidents involve small seedkin. Rather than wait for them to mature naturally, the Justiciar must have accelerated their growth so that he could deploy huge numbers over a short span of time. In fact, his plan likely requires that they be small, weak foes in order to guarantee his victory. After all, the great Justiciar can hardly be expected to bear the blemish of defeat. With these new details brought to light, it's almost certain he's staging these attacks on the common folk. Now we have a new perspective to guide our search. Perhaps you should return to Yerlemad. I hear the Justiciar is the talk of the village, and they doubtless have stories to share. A splendid idea. Thank you. Your findings have brought us a step closer to unmasking that villain. Let's hurry to Yerlemad. The more accounts we have of the Justiciar, the better our chances of predicting his next move. All right, back to Yerlemad.
Rest assured, the Radiant host are well aware of the Justiciar. Every day we receive more reports of him combating beasts in the surrounding wilderness. These encounters are never on well-traveled roads, it seems. They occur in remote regions that we scarcely patrol, along routes that are only used by a small number of merchants and porters. We've concluded that the Justiciar either has uncommon knowledge of the behavioral patterns of these creatures, or that he keeps close company with a merchant who travels those obscure paths.
Okay. An enthused youth.
Oh, you're hungry to learn more of the Justiciar. He's amazing. I was lucky enough to catch a glimpse of him on the road leading here, facing down a fearsome creature. I don't know how he did it, but he called down rocks from the sky to knock that thing flat. The Radiant hosts were away on patrols, so if he hadn't come to our rescue, that brute would have marched right into our homes. He shouted that he was the savior of Radzatan and even waved at me. Oh, he looked so impressive with the sun shining behind him. Hey! Eh? Don't tell me you've come chasing that half-breed savior. The younglings might be taken in by his honeyed words, but anyone with experience can see that he's nothing but a charlatan, and I have a story to prove it. A merchant I know took a tumble as he was transporting his goods. Not long after comes the Justiciar, looking chivalrous as you please in his shining armor. But did he offer a helping hand? No. He ran off with nary a glance backwards. He may go on about slaying beasts, but a real hero would never ignore someone in need, even if they were just suffering from scraped knees and a bruised ego.
Welcome back, love. Oh, hey, I found an Ilfang. Poke, poke. And run away. Tepeke?
Huh?
Anyway. Chris, do you have a moment? I'm having a little trouble here. I sought this merchant out because I was told he dealt with the alchemists in the Great Work. I thought he might know something about the Justiciar, but when I asked, well, he's been like this ever since.
Apologies, I was just surprised that you would ask me about that madman. What connection could he possibly have with me?
The fiends he fights are grown with rare alchemical materials, and we think he may be staging these encounters. Since you deal in such wares, we wonder if you might know how he came into their possession.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never spoken to that man.
I very much doubt that. Perhaps he'll be more receptive to questioning from you, Chris. That was well brought up. Too bad you weren't.
No.
He seems to have intimate knowledge of trade routes and alchemy. Who taught him, I wonder?
Come now. Any merchant with a nose for profit has good relations with the alchemists. By your way of thinking, any one of us could be in league with Virajan.
Virajan, you said? Who is that, may I ask?
Huh? What? Did I? No, that's my name. I'd be a fool to continue this charade any longer. My son Virajan is the one you know as the Justiciar. To be suddenly confronted with his litany of misdeeds, I quite lost my composure.
You're his father? Then, do you know how he came into possession of such rare materials and knowledge?
Aye, he stole them from me. My most valuable materials and my precious maps. And I was the one who chose to hide that fact. And I bear the blame for the consequences.
What can you tell us about him as a person?
Virajan was obsessed with tales of legendary heroes, even from a young age. Paid a great deal of money to have him tutored in the art of the bow. Became quite skilled at it, in fact, but not quite as skilled as his arrogance had led him to believe. Due to this, and perhaps a lack of ambition, he never aspired to true greatness. Instead, he came to rely upon fanciful equipment and exotic potions, rather than honing what skill he had. It pained me to see him fall into dissoluteness. He would brook no counsel. So, several years ago, I gave him enough coin to support his lavish lifestyle and told him never to speak to me again. He didn't. Until but recently, when he darkened my doorstep once more.
And that was when he stole your goods?
Aye. Although I would have willingly given them if he had but asked. He was rambling most incoherently, saying that his heroic deeds as a Justiciar had caught the eye of someone named Apiahi, leader of the Passage of the Unbound, whoever they are. He claimed that under the guidance of his newfound allies, he had obtained a great power. Power enough to eclipse all heroes who have come before and shall come after, as he put it. Seems he gives what money he still has to these people. To think that for all his fanciful words, he has only deigned to grasp at hollow glory, all at the expense of Ra-Zatan. There is no greater shame as a father.
Given what we know of this shadowy group, they most likely aim to sow discontent through Virajan's deeds. He may be so blinded by his own desire for adoration that he can't see whose hands are pulling his strings.
You're saying that he's being used? If that's true, then I can no longer remain silent, despite what shame it may bring. I see now that sharing my story might be the only way to save my son.
Indeed. I suggest you tell the Radiant Host at once. Of course, we'll be pouring our every effort into stopping him.
Thank you for giving me direction. I didn't imagine our meeting would end this way.
Truth be told, I'm not entirely unsympathetic towards Virazon. I basked in my father's reflected glory while having none of my own to speak of. The glory Virazon seeks is similarly false. I too shall visit the Radiant Host and have them spread word of the Justiciar's true nature. If the people are wise to his trickery, they'll be far more likely to aid us. He'll soon learn that a legend built on lies is no match for true heroism. Yep. 3 down, 3 to go. The next quest will be the level 96 quest, Floundering Flame. But we're going to take, Floundering Fame, I should say. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more in just a moment. If you're watching on Twitch, stay tuned. If you're watching on YouTube, here are the links. See you in a bit.